All right, so I know we had a 3-day weekend. And that means we probably forgot everything that we did last week, correct? I hope not. Okay, so remember, when we're doing elimination method, we're looking for two things. Okay, we have two equations, right? What's one of the things that we're looking for in order to be able to eliminate? You want to give one a shot?
Yes.
What is it? No, I'm eliminating, so I'm looking for two things. Angel? Different signs, but they also have to be what? Christian? Same digit. Okay? Same digit. Okay? But different signs. So look. I have 3 and 3, and then 3 and 1. So I could possibly eliminate these, right? But I don't have an opposite sign here. Did you give it to him? So how do I make one of those 3x's a negative 3x? What can I do? Noah? I don't want to change the order, or I just want to make one of those numbers negative. How do I make it a negative? Say it again, Matthew. I multiply by -1, right? So if I multiply that number by a -1, I have to multiply everything in that row by a -1. So let's look at them really quick, okay? So these are positive, positive, negative. So it really doesn't matter, right, which one I'm multiplying by a -1, but I can pick one. I want my bigger number to be positive, so I'm going to pick my top one, and I'm going to put a bracket around it. This is called a bracket. And then I'm going to say times -1. And now brackets are the same as parentheses. Okay? So it's like using distributive property. I want to get rid of those brackets. What I'm going to do though with the bottom one is I'm just going to move it over. I'm not changing that one at all. So I'm just going to draw an arrow and then write 3x plus 3y equals -3. I'm just moving that one over. I'm not multiplying it by anything. I'm not changing it any way, shape, or form. Make sure you're careful when you bring it over, and you bring it over exactly. You're not changing any signs. Okay? That's when we run into problems. Now the top one, I'm going to multiply by a -1, which means that I'm going to change every sign. Okay? Am I right? So a -1 times a positive 3x becomes what? -3x. So now I have -3x. A -1 times a, oh, let's put 1 there. What's a -1 times a positive 1y? -1y. And what is a -1 times a -11? Positive 11. So now, do I have both of those requirements to satisfy my ability to eliminate something here? Yeah. Same digit, opposite sign. What am I going to eliminate? My x's, right? And now I can solve for y, right? So I have -1 plus 3y. What does that give me? Positive 2y. I have an 11 minus 3. What does that give me? Positive 8. And then I can do my inverse operation for this multiplication and divide both sides by what number? By 2. And what does that give me? 4. So y is equal to 4. So I'm going to go back to my original equations, and I'm going to pick one. And I'm going to substitute y. I changed the top one. Let's go ahead and use the bottom one. Doesn't really matter. I can do either one. But look at, with this one, y is just y. Maybe that one might be easier. I don't have to, saves me a step. Is there a right or wrong one to pick? Nah, not really. I like to use the one that has less negatives, but on the original equation, they both only have one negative. Okay? Which one do you want to do, top or bottom? Bottom. Bottom it is. 3x plus 3, and instead of y, what am I going to use? 4. equals negative 3. All I did was take what y is equal to, I solved it over here, and substituted it for y in my equation. What is 3 times 4? So I'm going to bring down my 3x plus 12 equals negative 3. So far, so good? Now I want to move it, right? How do I move it? So I'm going to add the opposite or subtract 12 from both sides. Right? Better. So this becomes 0. It leaves me with 3x is equal to negative 15, right? Two negatives become a bigger negative. Then what? By what? Divide by positive 3. X is equal to what? Negative 5. Good. So my answer, remember I want to write it as an ordered pair. My answer is going to be negative 5, comma 4. And then box it so we can see it. Pretty easy, right? So the only thing we're adding to what we did already last week is we need to multiply by a negative 1. It will get harder. Okay, so if you're solid on what we did last week, this step is just one new step that we're adding. And then tomorrow, we'll add a little bit tougher stuff. Okay, let's do another. Let us look at one with multiple negatives. Let's look at number 2. All right. So what do I need again? What do I need in order to eliminate? Same digit and what? Opposite signs. Say it again. Tell your neighbor. Tell me. All right. Do I have same digit opposite signs? I do? Do I have part of that maybe? I have same digit, but not opposite signs, all right? So I want to make one positive. Negative, 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 negative. What do I like to make positive? The bigger numbers, right? So that would be here, but here 16 would be bigger. So it doesn't really matter. But I would rather subtract 8 from 16 than subtract 16 from 8. It just, for me, in my head, it's easier. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put brackets around this one, and I'm going to multiply it by a negative 1. First, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to draw an arrow, and I'm going to bring over my first equation. Make sure you transfer it exactly the way it reads. Don't change the order, don't change the signs, don't change the numbers. Negative 5x minus 6y excuse me, equals negative 8. Now, I know that multiplying by negative 1 is going to change the signs. Can I just do this really simple? Right, because that's really all I'm doing, right? Is making them all positives. But I'm still going to go ahead and bring it over. So this is really a 1x, right? So 1x. And now it's a plus 6y is equal to a positive 16. Super easy, right? All I did was multiply that entire line by a negative 1, which changed the sign of every number. You have to make sure you're changing the sign of every term, not just the first one, or not just the x or the y. Everything needs to change. Be careful to pay attention to what you're changing. Okay, so I have a negative 5 plus a positive 1. What do I get? Negative 4x. These guys eliminate, right? Because 6 minus 6 is 0. And then a negative 8 and a positive 16. What do I get? Positive 8. Okay, how do I undo this multiplication? Divide by what number? Make sure you include that negative in there. Now dividing by a negative number. This becomes positive x. What is 8 divided by a negative 4? Positive or negative? Negative 2. So now I know what x is. I'm going to pick one. Which one has the least negatives? They both have 3 negatives. Which one would probably be a little bit easier to do? This one is just x, right? I'm going to take the bottom. So x is not x anymore. What is x? X is negative 2. Minus, oh, remember it's negative. So it's minus a minus 2. Pay attention to that. Minus a minus 2. X is my negative 2, but it's already negative, right? So I need to include that minus sign outside. Okay? Minus 6y is equal to negative 16. What happens when I subtract a negative? So now this is plus 2, right? Now I want to solve for y, so I want to move this plus 2. How do I move the plus 2? If I add it, I end up with 4, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract it. That becomes 0. And now I have a negative 6y is equal to bigger negative, right? 16 plus 2 is negative 18. Polish it off by doing what? Divide both sides by what number? Negative 6. What does y equal? No. A negative divided by a negative is going to give me a positive answer. What is 18 divided by 6? 3. So my answer in ordered pair form is going to be negative 2, comma 3. Right? Does everybody understand? So let's do a quick rundown. Zoom out. So let's look at number 3. What am I going to eliminate? The what? X or Y's? Say it louder. The Y's. Okay. What do I want to multiply by negative 1, top or bottom? Does it matter? Not really. Pick one. Put a bracket around it. Put negative 1 in front of it. Me, personally, I think I'd do the top one. Negative 1. How about the number 4? What am I going to eliminate? X's or Y's? Y's again. How about number 5? X's or Y's? X's. How about number 6? X's or Y's? Look at it again. X's. Okay? You guys think you got it? Yeah. Okay, you have 10 left to do.